Our latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here to 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com.
And here we go.
You're in the recruiting hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're the 2 o'clock.
Yes, I am.
Here are your hosts, Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer. Brought to you by Bubbles and Blocks.
Nope. Welcome into the recruiting hour.
Sorry.
Mike Schaefer, Connor Happer, 93.7 The Ticket. We're coming. I feel like we're a little early today.
We are.
It's Nick's fault.
It is.
This has happened before. It's not Nick's fault, actually. It's my fault. I was the one that showed up later than normal, which I don't generally show up particularly early. It's a habit I'm going to have to snap when we switch to mornings, but we're here nonetheless. We're on your airwaves. We're on the stream. We're on the app. I was using the app yesterday. That's how I was listening to the big announcement of Connor Happer not going to punch DP.
That's right.
That was a big one. Everything that came after that seemed fairly secondary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, people should use the app. Comes in crystal clear. Very
Please
nice.
do.
Good stuff. You can just search 93.7 The Ticket. Boom, there it is. Download it. You can get our content directly to your ears wherever you are. Pretty great.
It's true.
It is pretty great. All right. So today, Nebraska had practice. We will dive into, I believe it was defensive coaches. Looked like Eric Shenander. I was not there today. Looked like Eric Shenander, Travis Fisher. So we will see what those guys have to say. We have Damon Benning joining here at about 2:30. I want his thoughts on kind of a variety of things. If there's a couple names that he's heard pop up so far in the first 2 weeks that he maybe wasn't expecting to hear as much of, or if there's a player or two that he hasn't heard from, those kinds of things. So we'll dive into all of that with Damon. And of course, he's a high school football coach. We'll get his thoughts on where things kind of sit. He's over at Omaha West Side now. So
Oh, really?
A little bit different discussion. His son, Caleb, sophomore there, 2024 name. People should probably start to know. I would imagine Caleb Benning could be set to have kind of a bit of a breakout year for Westside. So we will dive into that with Damon at about 2:30. Before we get there, though, and before we start with practice, I mean, did you get a lot of angry emails or phone calls from university officials for you unveiling what those alternate jerseys look like?
No, I did find out that I was actually pretty close, though.
Yeah, the grainy photo of which that I saw, you seem closer than I think you ever intended.
Well, you knew that it was going to be number 21 because
Right.
it is 2021.
I think we knew that it was going to be white for some reason.
Well, no. So I didn't know which direction they were going with this. I didn't know this one was happening. They have that alternate that they didn't end up wearing last year.
Right.
That it was just an away version of the black shirt uniforms. So basically just reversed for a road uniform. Black pants, white tops, and still the same helmet with the black N on it. Those are separate from these, which are just white with red numbers, kind of old school, and have a little camo kind of like undertone to them as well. I think it's good. They're subtly done, which is nice. And sometimes the camo isn't subtly done.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's you could do really bad with camo.
Oh yeah, the NFL and
Yes.
Major League Baseball and
Yes.
Have the NBA ever done camo?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Not that I know of.
that would probably be the worst version of camo, which would supersede. And I know this definitively because a team that I root for uses this color and they do it. But the biggest offenders appears to be the city of Baltimore, specifically with the Ravens, is the purple and black camo combination.
Yeah.
It is atrocious.
Yeah.
Grown men wearing those pants.
Not great.
Like I said, the Vikings, it's purple and gold, or they'll do purple and like
Well, there
gray.
was this whole trend over the last, probably up until relatively recently, where teams were doing digital camo, like digicam, like where it's just little it's like little speckles of it. Like
I
it's,
gotta look this up
it's-
because we're out of my element.
type
now.
in digital camo.
I'm not
and-
gonna get surprised by the results or thrown out of the ticket for.
No, it should be pretty safe, I think. But it's not like usually camo is kind of splotchy and it just runs together. But there's the digital camo, which is a whole bunch of different colors just in
Yeah.
the little
So
squares.
this is more of what the Vikings Ravens thing was,
Yeah.
except purple.
horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Well, and then like you see that is like someone is wearing like cargo pants.
Yeah.
In just this purple and black or purple and gray.
Yeah.
I guess digicam. I didn't even know that was a term for it.
Yes.
I did not know. I'm
As
learning.
a uniform connoisseur,
Yes.
I can be in this corner for you.
Remind people which of the alternate uniforms you've liked over the years. Like which ones have really stood out for
They're
you?
black. The black ones that they have in the rotation right now are good.
That they didn't get to use last year because that was supposed to be the
No, they wore them last year. The
Oh.
black home
Who they-
uniforms last year
who they
against
wear them
Illinois.
against? Oh,
And they wore them each of the last 2 seasons. now.
Okay.
They wore them against Indiana in 19, and they wore them against Illinois last year.
it's got to burn them.
Both
Can't
games in which they lost. Yes, that is true. Those are the best uniforms they had.
I like the white ice. Those are the ones that always stand out to
The
me. The Northwestern 2016.
16 Northwestern,
Is it 16,
2017, 16, 15, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think it's
So 17 would have been here, so it
It
would have
was
been
Tommy
16.
Armstrong was
Yeah.
the quarterback.
It was
I think it was
16.
16 when they went 7-0 to start.
Definitely 16. And yeah, those were good. And these, the ones that they are going to unveil in a couple weeks, look similar to those, just with a little bit of an old school twinge. That was good. I also didn't mind the ones that they wore against Illinois in 18. The old school with the red and the kind of like tan pants, but then they did the leather helmet look, which I thought was a little over the top and unnecessary, but those weren't bad either.
Yeah, that was for some reason we have this photo of Adrian that we run a lot of him in that game. He had like a really good game
He did.
against Illinois.
Yeah.
And we run that photo a lot. And I always look at those and it's just like the helmet just looks, I don't know what you do with the helmet there, but
just make it a normal helmet.
right. The rest of it looked pretty good. So, all right. I don't have any other real thoughts on alternates other than, the university wanting to have it be a public thing and then being upset that it was a public thing. Not great. Whatever. We'll all move on. It'll be unveiled here shortly.
Yeah.
There's a part of me, and this is very old manny, and feel free to just tell me that I'm being ridiculous, but can we just not get to the point where like you unveil it? It doesn't need like the hype video. Like
No, I agree with you there.
I feel like we've kind of reached a point where, okay, you're going to have an alternate jersey, like just unveil, like put it online.
I'm with
like,
you. But from what I've come to understand about this situation, this is more of like an Adidas driven thing.
well, I think it was last year with the house thing. Like
Probably didn't need to do the public, like let everybody come out
Yeah.
thing. You're right. And yeah. But everything is bigger than
Well,
it needs to be now.
and it's also just like it's special to Nebraska fans, but every team has like 15 uniform combinations anymore, so
Mhm.
it doesn't. I don't think it has the impact. Is it? Like when this was first discussed in 2013 or 2012, and it was like Nebraska needs to be edgy to get recruits. I
Yeah.
don't think any of that matters.
Well, you saw what Notre Dame put out yesterday, right?
Don't they have really atrocious looking ones?
No, not at all. They put out a completely normal uniform because they're gonna play Wisconsin this year at Soldier Field in
What
Chicago.
am I thinking of?
And I'm sure they do have some bad ones, but this
I'm thinking of people were mocking the verbiage used to describe
right.
all of it.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to. So they put out these totally normal looking uniforms with a couple different accents and a little bit of different, they have slightly different numbers. But if you were just a football fan watching the game, you know, at Soldier Field, you'd be like, oh, this is cool. Notre Dame and Wisconsin are playing at Soldier Field. There's literally nothing different about this. Wisconsin and Notre Dame both have new uniforms or different uniforms for this game. And what Notre Dame did was they put out a video about how like each little detail is different. And it's a shout out to something, or it's like they went to like the stripes represent the river in Chicago. I'm like, okay, we don't have to do this. Just say we have different jerseys. they're special jerseys or slap a patch on them, and we're going to go play at Soldier Field, and Wisconsin's got them too. And this is a huge Under Armour showcase because that's what it is. It's the reason why we're playing this game. And we'll call it a day. And it'll be great. And people will watch it on national TV. We don't need to make a fool of ourselves on social media.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was definitely the verbiage. And I think it was the river was the one that someone had like screen capped and zoomed all the way in. And then it was just like they wrote like Y in really large letters. But yeah. All right. So that's the obligatory alternative talk. If people have thoughts, of course, you can text in. Sutter Heyman text line. I should do this.
I don't think they're alternative jerseys. They're alternate jerseys.
Yes. Well,
alternative jerseys would be something that I would enjoy seeing a concept of.
What? Okay. So what?
Like, I'm thinking alternative music.
Like Pearl Jam and grunge, like Nebraska playing in torn jeans and flannel.
Check out these.
If Nebraska had a flannel uniform.
These are alternative.
Yeah. I like that. I actually would be on board with that as well.
Yeah.
And then the music for all of the game is just like straight out of 1989 to 1995.
Yes.
I'm in on this now.
Mm-hmm. A lot of grunting.
We'd see if we can get Courtney Love to come back as a special guest of honor.
Yeah, the 90s are back.
Eddie Vedder can do the national anthem. Mm-hmm. It'll be better than when they had that yodeling kid.
And nobody would hear the Don't talk about Mason Ramsey like that.
Is he still a thing?
Not really. No.
Was he ever really a thing?
No, but he did have a moment.
But people wanted him to be a thing?
He had him. I don't know if people wanted him to be a thing, but he did have a moment.
Okay.
He yodeled at Walmart and people got it on video, and then he kind of like made a living. Like he made an album and he got invited to Nebraska spring game.
He also the one with the GIF where he does the spin and the double point? Is that also him?
That would be him, yeah. Mason Ramsey.
Have we heard he's gonna have a comeback at some point, right?
We got to be at least a few years away still. He's still a little kid.
Well, right.
Maybe he shows up and he doesn't have as like squeaky of a voice and he's like 16 or something like that. But we're some time away from that still.
That's fair. All right.
Eddie Vedder, people wouldn't be able to hear the words.
That's the part of the magic of it. They can assume that it's the national anthem or what? Yellow Ledbetter? I mean, it could be either one. It could be either one of those. That's what people want. All right. What give us some highlights from practice today. What jumped out to you?
Well, it's the defense. So I feel like this is going to be a rinse and repeat thing for the defense day. So just set your calendars for Tuesdays.
I heard there was some Kool-Aid.
Tuesdays throughout fall camp. It's just going to be the defense talking about how they're kind of bored and they're really trying to just figure out who.
No one in this program is allowed to be bored, right?
No, they're not. But all I hear is like the questions aren't even about the defense anymore. They're about almost about nobody's asked specifically like what the defense is going to look like next year, but that's almost always where the conversation goes to. It's like, well, now we're kind of, all these people deep at this position, and some young guys are trying to work their way into playing time this year, but it probably actually won't happen. So we're getting a lot of young guys reps, and we're getting an extended look at them right now because the old guys are old guys, and that is pretty much what populates the defense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, that's the vibe I get right now. This idea might come back to haunt them in like 6 weeks, where it's like, well, what were they doing in fall camp? Just not doing anything? Well, the answer is yes. Like, the vibe that I get is they're taking it pretty easy on them right now on the defensive side of the ball. They had
on some of them though, right? Like more of the older super seniors.
Who's not old?
Well, like Nick Henrich isn't probably getting. So that's what I mean. Like there's still a mixture of some of those guys.
Like, yeah, there's the balance of we need to get reps and we need to stay healthy and we know what we're doing and we're trying to take this thing to the next level, but it's not like we have to grind really hard to figure out what we're doing. It's just a different camp storyline, and it's a direct contrast with what the offense is trying to accomplish, I think. And they had a scrimmage and it sounded like the defense won, and you go forward.
So this is always one of those like big message board fight things.
Is it
like,
bad?
When there's a scrimmage and it's like, what does it mean? And so let me ask you, when you hear Eric Chinander or someone says that the defense did well or the defense outplayed the offense or whatever it is, I don't even know what to do with that anymore, especially right now where I just feel like the defense is so far ahead. I guess I would have a lot more concern if the offense was outplaying the defense.
Well, you pair that with at the beginning of camp, the defense will always win just because
Generally,
the offense is, going to be more particular and getting stuff in
way more
installed.
unsettled.
Well, it's also more nuanced in what you're doing. Like, not that the defense isn't nuanced, but at some point the defense becomes about like see guy with ball, hit guy with ball. You know what I mean? Like, and Nebraska has a bunch of old guys who have been around for a long time and they know how to do that. So I think I'd be alarmed if it was like, whoa, the offense is out here like just dominating the defense. That's not what I heard. You take everything with a grain of salt. Nothing means anything. I don't know. Like, you want to hear that there are some bright spots for the offense, and I think we've got that over the last couple of weeks, and they like where they're at wide receiver wise, and Adrian seems like he's in a good place, but I don't know. None of it really. Like I said last week, we're in week 2 here now. This is going to be the longest.
If you're here now, it's going to be rough next week.
This is going to be the longest fall camp that we've ever experienced. This is going to be excruciating. Like I'm telling, yes, it will be bad. It was bad today.
I wasn't there today,
It was
so
bad.
I can't comment on that.
It was bad today. Next week with the defense, it'll be even worse. We still have stuff to figure out with the offense. The whole running back thing is super duper important, obviously. But this is the whole vibe from the team right now. Like, they just want to get out there and show it. They just want to get out there and play. It's a great thing. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's going to be annoying. It's going to be hard for us to the
content creators will struggle.
Yeah, it'll be hard for us to uncover any new angles.
Yeah. Well, allegedly that's our job. So we have to keep picking, prodding, pulling, seeing what we can come across.
Start asking about Pearl Jam next week.
Shenander said, and I'm changing it up here a little bit. We'll dive back to practice in a moment. But Shenander said that they forced a couple turnovers. I've been asked a few times about in what way this defense can be better than last year besides just limiting scoring. And I do think that they have the ingredients where they have some guys that can definitely turn teams over. And I do think that needs to be a thing that they do if they're going to be successful this year. In no short part because the teams that they play from a quarterback standpoint are either fairly unproven or fairly young, aside from, Spencer Rattler basically stands out as kind of the king of the mountain. And then you look at the rest of the quarterbacks, and with apologies to Fordham and Buffalo, I haven't really paid any attention to what they're going to bring here. I'll be honest.
Let's check and see who Fordham's quarterback is.
You do that. I'll continue down this quarterback discussion. Otherwise, you're talking about like Graham Mertz might be the next best. And we still have a lot to learn about Graham Mertz.
Yes, we do.
And then after that, it's probably Tanner Morgan. And you could make the case that maybe Tanner Morgan's the second best because we know what he is. He's a high efficiency thrower that's going to operate off of a heavy play action run first offense.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, like, I don't even know if we know who the fourth best quarterback that Nebraska is going to play would be, because you get into names like Spencer Petras isn't that good. Like, he's someone that you can certainly turn over. I have no idea who's coming out of Purdue at this point. We know nothing about, or we know little about Helinski at Northwestern at this point, but there's not an indication to me that it feels like it would be a step down from Ramsey
Morgan,
last
right?
year, right? Yeah, Tanner Morgan was 3.
Yeah,
I think he could be 2. You could make a case for him over Graham Mertz, but I think Graham Mertz's potential is much higher.
Whoever Ohio State's quarterback is.
Yeah, and CJ Stroud or Quinn Ewers or whomever. We assume that person's going to be pretty good. We don't know, but we assume with all the weapons and with Ryan Day's track record at this point, you assume that's going to be pretty good. Michigan, do we know who Michigan's quarterback is going to be?
Did they get a transfer? Or no, they might be starting.
They have a freshman, right?
Yeah,
like
freshman
a
is
5-star freshman.
Let's find out that too.
So
like Michigan and Fordham, I got to find out.
Michigan State. It's not Rocky Lombardi, so who the hell is it? It's not. There's just like for as much as we really hammer how hard the schedule is, and then you sit and you sort of pick at different teams and where they're at in their track right now. There's just a lot of teams that are either in the reload or to figure out what we have mode.
Michigan is going to go with, it looks like, Cade McNamara.
Okay. Yeah, it's a highly highly rated quarterback.
That's a guy. Yep.
Um,
I'm trying to find out if Fordham will return their quarterback by the name of
John Skelton?
Tim DeMorat.
Tim DeMorat.
He was their quarterback last year and led them to a 3-1 record. Or I'm sorry, 2-1 record in 3 games. He threw 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, but completed 72% of his passes.
There you go.
He's a stud.
I'm just the larger point for me though is that I just feel like there's potential for this defense to turn teams over, especially you've got some ball hawking guys in the secondary with Deontay Williams and Cam Taylor-Britt. Another guy that we'll get to here in a second appears to be making a little bit of a run in the secondary and having himself some good practices, which is why he appears on the hype videos as much as he has.
Tim DeMorat is back. He is
the rat.
He's back, and guess what? He was the 2020, 2021. So this spring they played, right? Patriot League Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay, so Tim DeMorat, don't sleep on what he can bring
First team All Patriot League
to the table. Brandon Peters is in there, but he's like right in that Spencer Petras mode where I'm not getting excited about Brandon Peters.
No, you shouldn't.
In the 2 games against Nebraska, one he looked good, the other he looked terrible.
Yeah.
I think he threw for like 97 yards, and they still almost won in Champaign. So the larger point, I just think that defense, I want to hear about takeaways. I think that's going to be a huge part of if they're going to win 8-9 games, like if they are going to exceed expectations, it's because that defense not just stops teams, they create offense. They make it much, much easier for whatever offensive effort they're getting.
Yeah, it's something that they've wanted to do each of the 3.
It was a hallmark for Shenander's second year at UCF, and it hasn't been anywhere close. And obviously, there's a lot of reasons to go into that.
I think that's TBD. That's the big question with this one, with this defense. I view this more as a defense that will be strong and steady, not necessarily in explosive plays defense. I don't know if they have the weapons to do that. Cam Taylor-Britt is,
and I'm not saying they're going to take the ball away 25 times or 20 times,
but you need to be better.
It was 7 last year in 8 games.
They need to be better.
It's got to be at least your ratio. If you can get it to 1.5 a game or 1.3 a game, you want it to be better.
Well, you know what we're talking about for Nebraska to have to get to that point, and that'd be pass rusher, which is something that I've just kind of resigned to that they don't have in a single body. Maybe they can generate that consistently.
Some of it's fumble luck. Nebraska had terrible fumble luck last year. Teams put the ball on the ground a lot, and Nebraska did not recover it.
Yeah.
So, there's different things certainly there. All right, I mentioned there's a defensive back, Tyreek Johnson. What'd you hear about him today?
People just constantly ask about him, and
so it makes it hard to know whether he's real. And then you have the hype videos.
I didn't ask today, but like one guy that I really want to, not to go away from Tyreek Johnson, but like I wanted to ask, and I just didn't today, was like Caleb Tanner. Like Caleb Tanner has been in this defense for 3 years, and I don't think his name has been spoken once in this camp, but I think he's a starter.
Yeah, someone in the media asked me if I thought he could break out, and I would say who it is, but I just can't remember. And I was like, I think we know who he is.
Right.
But at the same time, if he's one of your starters, it's a little kind of for me, like if he can't be beaten out, that's not great.
Yeah, no.
Because maybe there's another level, but man, we've talked about it, and there's spurts. He had a great game against Colorado. He had a great game against somebody else, and then nothing. Feldarius Payne excites me more.
Yeah, so
Garrett Nelson excites me more.
So
Jamari Butler, Blaze Gunnerson excite me more.
For Tyreek Johnson, I mean, it's just he's probably the third corner. I mean, at best, and I don't know how many corners they're going to play.
Yeah. Well, and you still have Braxton Clark in there too, and you've got
that's best case scenario.
Yeah. So it's a loaded room. All right, we'll talk to Damon Benning. We'll get his thoughts on where Nebraska sits, players that have jumped out, or names that he's heard, names he hasn't heard, all that more when we return.
The following is a test of the emergency alert system.
You're listening to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Mike Schaefer here with 5-star child care provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
We're out to prove that having a face for radio is just a myth, and you can decide for yourself by watching all of our shows on 93.7 The Ticket on the new video stream, sponsored by Sartor Heyman Jewelers. Now you can watch Early Break, DP and Stevens, The Recruiting Hour, The Drive, and more on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube every day and in real time. Watch 93.7 The Ticket shows today and every day on the Sartor Heyman Jewelers video stream on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube.
Need a better job? Looking for a career? Gaina Trucking and Excavating is what you're looking for. They are a rapidly growing company looking for a heavy mechanic. Gaina Trucking and Excavating offers a team culture with lots of benefits, including 401k, health, annual raises, paid vacation, holidays, and much more. It's a great career opportunity. Want to love what you do? Join the Gaina Trucking team. Apply online at www.gainatrucking.com. That's www.gainatrucking.com.
Baseball's back, and it's time to celebrate, Lincoln. We're inviting fans back to Haymarket Park to join in the fun for the Salt Dogs' 20th season. Pick out single-game tickets and plot your own Salt Dog schedule around promos and deals. Come to Haymarket Park for Nebraska Medical Association Thank You Tuesdays, Fairbury Brand Wiener Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, Fireworks Fridays, Souvenir Saturdays, and Sunday Family Fun Days brought to you by Casey's. Get your tickets for the Salt Dogs celebration season at saltdogs.com.
Allo provides so much more. Safer screen time, more of the channels you love, and real peace of mind. Take it from Richard in Lincoln, who gets more with Allo.
The internet is twice as fast as competitors, and the whole package is saving me $60 per month. As a retired veteran, this extra money is fantastic.
So switch to Allo today. Go to allofiber.com/providing more.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Don't you feel so free out here on the lake?
Not as free as this soda.
Where'd you get free soda?
Casey's. Buy 4 fountain drinks, 5th one's free.
I love free.
Well, then you'll love this. Bought this jerky, got this free donut.
I love free donuts.
With Casey's Summer of Freedom sweepstakes, the more you buy, the more you can win, including free Lee Brice concert tickets. Casey's, here for good. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. For official rules, visit Casey's.com.
Is your kitchen outdated and in need of a facelift? Kitchen Tune-Up in Lincoln specializes in 1 to 5 day kitchen updates. A 1-day tune-up is like taking your car to get detailed. And a 5-day job can tear out cabinets and put in new ones. And they work on both kitchens and bathrooms. You don't need to worry about a long, drawn-out process that leaves your house a mess for months. It's simply 1 to 5 days with these services. Call Jason at Kitchen Tune-Up today at 402-340-0008 or go to kitchentune-up.com for more info.
Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer, presented by Bubbles and Blocks on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All your dreams are made when you change to the mirror on the razor blade. Today's the day that all the world will see.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Hour. Mike Schaefer, Connor Happer. We do not have Damon Benning yet. We'll give him a try here in a couple minutes. Reached out to him, see if he's got something going on. Maybe another basketball game that he's trying to get to the end of. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whereas like we can just have you another day, and he can. No, I can do it.
No, I
It's
got
like
this.
it went
Yeah.
into like triple overtime.
Sure.
Yeah,
Of course.
So,
He's a busy guy.
We'll see if we can get him. We talked a little Tyreek Johnson, and actually Damon says he's ready. So if Rico wants to just go ahead and pop over and give a call, we can do that. I just have to tell him on air awkwardly. So
do it now.
But we'll have Damon here in a little bit. Yeah. So we were talking about that defensive back room. Marcus Buford, another guy that
yes
was getting a little praise from Travis Fisher, who of all the assistant coaches, I feel like generally does a particularly strong job in highlighting guys that he feels like are making a move. And then if you know they're not, like there's a reason their names are never coming up.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's pretty, he lays it all out there.
Yeah.
That's the type of relationship he has with his guys, which is definitely a positive.
I think it's refreshing. I also think it's probably one of the most popular guys.
Yeah.
Both from the media perspective and certainly from the players. All right. We welcome in Damon Benning. You know him from 1620 The Zone. You know him from playing on Nebraska football team in the 90s. You know him as an assistant coach in the Omaha Metro. Damon, how else do we know you?
Well, that should be good, I hope. I mean, that should about do it. I just moved over to West Side this year, so that would, I know some will be like, well, it took you so long. It was inevitable, but this one was actually a little tougher than I thought.
Yeah, you're in what, your second day of practices at this point?
We are. We had practice at 6, just a quick kind of walkthrough. You could only be out on the field an hour. And then we'll be back on the field for a more traditional practice at 3:45.
What kind of knowledge can you impart to a group of guys that got to go through a championship experience? Some have moved on. You got to replace pieces, but it's not like the program just stops. There's another year. There's still players that are coming back for junior or senior years. I mean, is that a real factor that you can kind of bring to the table and talk to these kids about the apathy that sometimes sets in when you do win a title like that?
Yeah, I think that's been big. It's a totally different team than a year ago. And we were fortunate when I was at Omaha North, we had made a couple of really good runs, went back to back. I think we won, I don't know, 3 out of 4, maybe something like that. I know we played in 5 straight semifinals and 4 out of 6 state championship games, or 5 out of 6. So it's a big deal. And I think each team is different. And early on, Shape, I think the big thing is understanding that we lost a lot of good players. Kobe Bretz, Kate Haberman, Cole Payton, Avante Dickerson, Will Hurtado. There were a lot of good players that are starting their own camp this year at the collegiate level. So the goal remains the same, but the personality of this football team is vastly different than it was a year ago.
Why is it? It seems that every team that you coach always seems to start with Creighton Prep at the beginning of the year.
Isn't that?
I mean, I just feel like that's just the common, because with Omaha North, it felt like it was North and Prep to start all the time, and now it's West Side and Prep, and there you are in the middle of it.
Yeah, that works, right? It's North. We saw them multiple times in the opener, and this one is a little bit different. This is one of the really old rivalries, and it's a little nasty. I remember first couple of early workouts I had in the summer, and even going back to locker room camp, I still have some blue, and I didn't have anything on it, and I had some blue shorts, and the staff quickly reminded me that they don't like blue over there on 89th and Pacific. I kind of laughed it off, but they're pretty serious. And let me know that they were serious. So it's got our focus. I actually think it's a fantastic game. If you're me, we open with Prep, and then week 2 we get Omaha North. So it gets real in a hurry for West Side.
Moving over to Nebraska football, they're in their second week of camp, or basically the 13th day or whatever of camp at this point. And we've had a few different media appearances. I know you pay attention to those things. I know you've talked with some of the coaches over there as well. Has there been a name or two that has come up so far early in this run that stands out to you as oh, I wasn't necessarily expecting him to appear this soon, or I kind of forgot about that guy? Any kind of surprise name or two so far for you here for the first 2 weeks?
The easy one has been Jordan Riley. I think a lot of people have talked about the physical transformation and kind of how much different he looks, but I've watched him since the spring. You know, we got the chance to see a couple of different practices, and I compare it to, you know, the briefs that he had last year coming back from injury, and he's a big-time talent. You guys know me. I try to play close to the vest, but with a guy like Riley, who seemingly come out of nowhere to cut into some nice potential defensive line rotation, and that's a deep bunch. You guys, they play 8-9, you know, probably tomorrow if they had to. Jordan Riley, in my opinion, if the light bulb comes on and he continues his development in terms of football knowledge, he's a Sunday talent. He's got all the tools, but you know, for him, it's putting it all together and just kind of uncorking it, because when he gets going, man, he's a rare combination of quickness and power, and he's in fantastic shape. He's probably had one of the bigger transformations of anybody that they've had on campus coming into this year, and I think he's that guy. The other guy that I think that some have maybe forgotten about a little bit, that I think is going to have an opportunity to really earn some keep, is Chris Hickman. I think he's had a good camp. I think he's feeling better. I think healthy. He's proven that he's a guy that can play. He's got a tremendous coach. He's back in the tight ends room full time, and Sean Beckton. That room just keeps getting better, and he's one of those guys that I almost forgot about, right? Because, I mean, even though he's such a good family friend, it's like, well, we've heard about Vokalek, and we heard about the recruitment of Fidoni, and we've heard about the emergence of one of my favorite guys in Austin Allen. And so I think he's a guy that could really is on par for maybe a breakout kind of year.
Is with Hickman specifically, does he take on a little extra value in the sense that he's sort of the third man, because there's no Thomas Fidoni, at least until later in the season? That tight end room, it gets light in a hurry when you think about behind Vokalek and Allen. Does his emergence, is almost a necessity, because, you know, most teams, you got to have 3 tight ends that you can use, that you can sort of rely on.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the case, you know, and he's one of those guys that can get vertical. He's long, he's lean, got off to a good start in camp, you know, with a couple of big plays. And so I think he's a guy that understands he's a little different. You know, Austin Allen is a big, long body type. He's kind of a combination and what you're looking for in a tight end of size and athleticism. Vokalek's got really good size. Maybe not as athletic as the two aforementioned, but he's a different kind of target just because of his sheer mass. And so when he's healthy, he's got to pay attention to. And then there's Chris, who is long, he's lean. He has one of those bodies that we kind of all long for, that has had a hard time putting on weight. You can look forward to that when he's older, until his metabolism slows down. But he doesn't always appreciate that now, as a guy that crams a ton of calories in and loves the weight room. So he's kind of different, and I think he really feels like, for him, it's not so much do or die, but there's a tremendous amount of value on this year.
Yeah, so I asked the guys that you not necessarily surprised, but it's good that their names popping up. It's a good sign. Has there been a player or two where you're like, I was kind of thinking he'd at least get mentioned here at this point? Anything like that so far for you?
Yeah, well, I think, and you know, they can't get everybody, because I think he's a really good player. Miles Farmer is one of those guys I thought I would, you know, maybe really garner some mention. Now he's playing behind two guys, and those pair of safeties in Dismuke and Deontay Williams, who have kind of been there, done that. And there are a ton of guys back there on defense that it kind of can make it tough. But he's a guy that I think you'll hear from in a big way before it's all said and done, but it's a little surprising. And then maybe, I guess I would say a guy like Alante Brown, who's kind of flown under the radar. When healthy, he's definitely different. He's got to be in the top 5 in terms of speed guys for Nebraska, but has remained relatively quiet in terms of chatter, in terms of guys who they brought up. So that for me it has been a little bit of a surprise thus far.
Yeah, Brown brings us into the wide receiver room, and sometimes, you know, if you're asked to name 6, you know, you can get there maybe without him sometimes, but then there's others who are like, oh no, he's definitely in the mix there. So that's a weird one. What do you? I mean, this is at the top of the line, and we know he's going to be a factor on this team, but Samori Toure, what is even the expectation for him? Because Schaefer and I were going back and forth on him the other day and just about kind of his skill set and what he brings to the table. And some of it might be dependent on what happens around him. I guess, how do you view Toure in this offense?
He's better than I thought. I was a little bit skeptical just because anytime you hear that much that early in terms of a guy having impact or making transition, I was a little reluctant. In spring, you know, I may be a little bit of a tough critic. Wasn't, in my opinion, as sudden, I guess, as I would have thought. But then you watch more, you kind of try to pay attention. You're like, okay, was that my own expectation that was inflated? Or, you know, do I need to recalibrate? And for him, the longer this thing goes, he's legit. He's really good after the catch. He's a tremendous route runner. He's got good size. He's got very deceptive speed. And he, perhaps more than anything, has this steady, kind of mature persona, right? Like the way that he carries himself, I think makes him a little bit unique. You can tell he's a grown-up that understands that he's got a job to do. And I think he'll be as good as advertised.
You see him in the highlight tape from Montana, and then you try to juxtapose that with what you see. And I thought when we saw practice a little bit last week that he was quicker, short area, more explosive.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. That's really, in my opinion, that's spot on. I don't know it all, but I definitely agree with that. So I don't know if we're both crazy. But that's really the thing that got me going. His change of direction in small spaces and his ability to kind of make guys miss is not really what I was expecting. He kind of has a little bit of an angular look to him, and he was a guy that had a ton of big plays getting deep. So to see him kind of change direction and really navigate that intermediate passing area along those hashes and control the slot area has been a really pleasant surprise for me.
We're talking with Damon Benning here of 1620. Damon, do we collectively underestimate the difficulty of the coaching aspect when you've got a guy like Miles Farmer, who by all accounts in his 3rd year, this is when he should be starting, and he finds himself again sort of in this backup role where there's going to be opportunity for him. But is that more difficult than we really give it credit to for a coach, for Travis Fisher, to keep him both engaged, active, ready, and also content, knowing that he's not necessarily the first name off the page at either safety spot?
Yeah, there's no question about it, right? I mean, he's playing behind 2 really seasoned vets, and they're good players. I mean, Dismuke and Deontay, football players, and they're only going to play 2 safeties up to this point. So I think for him, he knows that he's darn near interchangeable, especially when he's healthy. He's patient. He's waiting his time. It didn't cost him a year last year, so he's kind of used it to continue to own his craft in terms of development. He understands full well that he's playing behind some really good players And as much as those guys throw their bodies around on the back end, and Dismuke and Deontay Williams, he understands that he's just a good, solid collision away from really having to be a guy that they need to count on.
Last week on Friday, I asked Connor Happer if there was a game of 7-on-7 and his roster was entirely comprised of media members, who his first pick would be. And he brought your name up, but he didn't go with you. Is there anything you would?
Who did I go with?
You went with Parker Gabriel.
Why did I do that?
I'm still not entirely sure. Your rationale is that he
because he
played
wanted to
football.
lose. I love PG, but if it comes to the media, come on, man. Like, are we being serious here?
I mean, it happened. I just, if you have anything you'd like to say to Connor on your behalf, if you'd like to,
yeah, go ahead
to sell why
No,
you should
it's-
be the number
it's
one.
Totally
pick.
fine, man. CF is my guy. I know it's not personal. Probably just was an oversight. I can help him to offense or defense. I can play a little receiver. I grew up a quarterback. I can obviously do some things out of the backfield, but defensively is where you may be able to get your money, man. I've been coaching it for the last 10 years, so that doesn't mean I can play it, but man, I like to stay in pretty good shape, Connor. You hurt my feelings.
Well, I was just thinking, I was too narrowly thinking because I was just thinking quarterback, and I knew that Parker played high school quarterback, and that was it.
Parker's like 5'1".
I know. I don't. And he
He
ran
ran
like
7-on-7. He doesn't need to see over any offensive line.
he also ran like the triple option. I'm pretty sure. So I don't know.
No, you know the thing I love about Parker, what makes him one of my favorites, is he's so stinking competitive. For a nice guy, finishing first is pretty important for him. That's not a bad choice.
That's why.
Not a bad choice.
That's exactly why I took him.
Yeah.
That was in the scouting report.
I'm now thinking Damon could have been a player coach. Like you could have he could have been your defensive coordinator and out there.
It's definitely an oversight, Damon. I apologize.
Hey, that's okay. You guys forget about us Metro guys there in Lincoln. I get it. And Connor, you shouldn't because you're here so much.
I know. Yeah. That's what
All right.
the city I call home. So that's where I'm at.
I like the idea that Lincoln people forget about Omaha. I love that concept being thrown
Hey,
around.
that's
Like,
rich,
that's a
isn't
real
it?
thing. Yeah.
Knowing good well, it's like it's normally the other way around. We get to like 204th Street in Omaha, and it's like, well, nothing else matters. No, I get it, Shafe. You're right.
All right, Damon. Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining the show today, and we'll catch up with you, I'm sure, down the line.
All right, man. Congrats on a full-time gig. You guys, man, you do good work. It's well deserved.
Thanks, Damon.
Thanks, Damon.
Appreciate you.
Damon Benning from 1620. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to finish up the show, but I'm going to throw this out there. We could use your questions. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hit us up. We haven't had questions from the Starter Heyman text line really since I've been back, which was a few weeks ago. So I've done a poor job of this. But if you're still listening, A, thank you. B, you have any questions about fall camp, questions about recruiting, any of that, 402-464-5685.
You're listening to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I have been getting back out and hitting different restaurants, hitting different places, and I could not be more excited to get back to Bearshin in Benson, one of the best beer gardens around. The weather's starting to get good, and coinciding with that, they are going back to their full food menu. We're talking the burgers, the Johnny Hammer Pants sandwich, the pretzels, the fries, the salads, if you're one of those people. They got all of it. And they are now open Tuesday through Sunday. That allows you to get over to Bearshin, check out the food, the beer, hang out in the beer garden. You can get that $7 big cheese double Wagyu burger special on Tuesdays. Also, happy hour, 3 to 6, Tuesday through Friday. Don't miss it. Plus, if you're a soccer fan, it's the place to be in Benson. Mike Schaefer here with 5-star childcare provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
At Buffalo Wings and Rings, they've crafted a new league of superior chicken sandwiches. Meet the Ringers. It's premium, house-made, beer-battered, fried chicken served Buffalo, Korean, or MVP style. Head to Buffalo Wings and Rings Lincoln and raise a glass to superior chicken. 2 locations at 68th and O and at 40th and Old Cheney. Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Allo provides so much more. Safer screen time, more of the channels you love, and real peace of mind. Take it from Richard in Lincoln, who gets more with Allo.
The internet is twice as fast as competitors, and the whole package is saving me $60 per month. As a retired veteran, this extra money is fantastic.
So switch to Allo today. Go to allofiber.com/providing more.
Here's to days spent roaming and to sleeping beneath the stars, to casting another line and letting time float by. From Shadron State Park to Indian Cave State Park and every recreation area, historical, and state park in between. Here's to your adventures, your memories. Here's to 100 years of your Nebraska state parks. Plan your next trip today at nebraskaparks100.org. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Need a better job? Looking for a career? Dana Trucking and Excavating is what you're looking for. They are a rapidly growing company looking for a heavy mechanic. Dana Trucking and Excavating offers a team culture with lots of benefits, including 401k, health, annual raises, paid vacation, holidays, and much more. It's a great career opportunity. Want to love what you do? Join the Gaina Trucking team. Apply online at www.gainatrucking.com. That's www.gainatrucking.com.
Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer. Presented by Bubbles and Blocks. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Hour. Mike Schaefer, Connor Happer here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thank you to Damon Benning for joining us on today's show. I threw it out there. I'll do it again. I've heard we've already got some questions in. We even had one tweeted at us.
Wow.
So you can do that too. You can actually, I might as well just throw this out there. If you want to, you can of course follow the news show at Happer N, letter N,
because we're in
Schaefer.
Yeah.
So that is how you can find us on Twitter moving forward.
If you followed the Recruiting Hour account, you still follow Happer and Schaefer.
It automatically moved over, which means we have like 1,000 some followers to begin with. So
let's go.
We're off to a good start. That's the target number. If you're starting an account on social media, you get to 1,000. That's really good.
Yeah.
You start to appear in other people's notifications without their permission.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yep.
Are you verified?
I am not.
Do you want to be?
No, it's one of those where, like, if you get big enough, they just verify you. Like, they'll check on it.
They just check you.
So that's basically where I'm at. Like, I'm not one of the people, because you could go in and you could do it yourself. I don't think that's necessary.
You can't just do it. You have to meet some criteria.
You can
right?
submit a request
gotcha.
to be, and I don't want to do that.
Gotcha.
I want them to come to me.
Nice.
So
power move, Schaefer.
For whatever reason, that's where my mind's at.
Great.
But yeah. So we hopefully maybe Happer and Schaefer will get verified before I do.
Oh, that would be funny.
I'd be fine with that. They're the one trying to grow their audience. I already have too many people. It manifests itself when I make comments and then people get real mad. So, double-edged sword. All right. So, send us your questions. 464 5685, or you can tweet at us. Whatever you want to do.
Do we start with the tweet or do we start? All right, let's start with the
Let's
tweet.
start with the tweet. Billy Terry asks, so who is the Duck R?
Love this question. I love how much I hate this question.
Yeah.
Because I don't
It
know if you
should be
guys,
the Huskar.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the Duck R doesn't really exist anymore.
No. The Duck R is dead. But it might take the eye back with it.
Yeah. I don't know. They're gonna send some dudes out in motion. So there will be some Alante Brown, there will be some Teray, there will be some Will Nixon shifting out of the backfield.
We can agree, and it was trending this way for a while, and I know we talked about it on this show too, but the Duck R was overblown from the beginning,
1000%,
and remains overblown. Like
Yes.
it's again, like even with recruiting, like recruits would occasionally mention it, but it would be more so like, this is what Kenyon Barner did, and it's like, well, that's a decade ago now.
Yeah.
Not a full decade, but it feels like it. So we're all moving on. All right. What other questions we got?
All right, let's go down the line here on the text line.
Keep sending them in.
Any word on Nash Hutmacher? Yeah, he was mentioned today.
Yeah,
by Tony Tuioti.
They're excited about Nash Hutmacher. I think that he is sort of running third in behind Jordan Riley and Damian Daniels as potential nose tackle, but also like Jordan Riley, he can play defensive end as well. I mean, same with Ty Robinson. All three of those guys.
It sounds like he is knocking on the door of playing time.
Yeah. Yeah. He's and what Tuioti said he feels good about his top six, and that Nash Hutmacher is right there.
Yeah.
And then
I would
also
even extend that out a little bit. I think there's probably a couple more.
Well, Damon said 9.
Yeah.
So Nebraska, regardless of coach, has been notorious about how they like their defensive line depth and that they're going to rotate them. And then they don't generally rotate them.
Oh no, they're going to do that. They have done that.
We'll see what percentage comes.
They did that last year.
Well, they didn't have to last year. They only had to play like 4 guys. They were all healthy for the most part.
They were doing line changes at points last year. Maybe not so much with the linebackers.
There was a lot of Ben Stilley, a lot of Casey Rogers, a lot of
Ty
Robinson, and a lot of there's one other one. Who's the fourth?
DeAndre Thomas.
He didn't play that much last year.
Oh yeah, he was hurt last year.
Yep. And so was Jordan Riley.
And so
who are we forgetting? There's one that we're forgetting.
Yeah, there is. Damian Daniels.
Yes.
The biggest
one.
guy.
So they got a ton of snaps out of those 4 dudes. Now, 2 of the other people that are in their top 6 were hurt.
Right.
But you'd like to see guys like Mosai Newsome and Marquise Black. Those are names that we've heard that they're pretty happy
with.
with.
Here comes Nash. Here comes Ruquan Buckley.
Man.
Here comes Marquise Black. Yeah.
Don't look for Jalen Weaver. He's got a long way to go.
Tony Tuioti literally said today he's overweight.
Yeah.
Like flat out, he's overweight.
He came in bigger than he anticipated, but he was already 6'8", 290 when he was being recruited.
Yeah.
So
No, they love the size.
Right, yeah.
But they just got to work on it a little bit.
Well, I mean, so did Damian Daniels. Like that's it takes time. Like you don't just because you're enormous in high school doesn't mean you're physically ready to play college football.
You want to do a couple minutes of overtime here?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we got a few of them here. Corey and Lincoln, you guys touched on it, but what does it say about some of the young outside linebackers like Gunnarsson if they can't unseat a guy like Tanner who
Gunnarsson's
seems
hurt.
content to just float along? Then again, maybe none of that is fair.
Yeah, I don't know if he's content to float along. It's just that there's been no one that's just pulled the job away from him in the way that we want.
And that's something.
Because the idea is that you want someone better than what you're getting from Caleb Tanner.
Mhm.
If there's no one that can do that, you're in the Dedrick Young territory of he's going to play because he's still the best.
That's right.
And so just because you want someone to be better doesn't mean that they are.
Yep.
But Gunnarsson's been hurt. Jamari Butler's someone I think is knocking on the door a little bit. They have a bunch of names. I'm curious how it all manifests. in
Well,
playing.
and then Garrett Nelson is that same spot, and
Right.
then
he's going to play a ton.
totally, and then you also have Henrich, and depending on how much you need him at middle linebacker, he can
Right.
do a little bit of that too.
Yeah,
so
they have a lot of options there. It's just that
no, it does speak to the room
Right.
that nothing really has happened there,
or that maybe Caleb Tanner has incrementally gotten better too. But what that means on a Saturday, we don't really know.
The other Chris in Lincoln, this is all caps. If Adrian gets hurt in the first game, are we screwed? And if so, isn't that an indictment on the staff for lack of depth in year 4?
I don't think it's an indictment on the staff because I think everybody would have a similar issue on their roster right now. If your quarterback goes out, you know,
They lost Luke McCaffrey and Noah Vedral. I think they'd like to have them both here.
sure. Well, yeah,
And-
you'd love to have a stock quarterback room.
And so to answer the first question, if Adrian gets hurt the first game, are we screwed? Like long-term hurt? Yeah, Nebraska's screwed. Yes. Like, no, yes. Nebraska's super screwed.
They're screwed in the sense that they're probably going to win 4 games instead of potentially winning as many as 6 or 7 or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
that would be screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. They'd have a year to try to figure out what they have with Logan Smothers and Heinrich Harburg.
And it does feel like Logan Smothers is the second quarterback.
I think that has switched. Like we talked
Yeah.
about this
Yeah.
sort of at the beginning of camp. Like there was a feeling at the end of the spring that Harburg had overtaken him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talked with Verduzco in Columbus and he sort of pushed back against that. And here we are. And now it feels like it's Logan Smothers.
What is the timeline for Fredoni? Is he just doing rehab and not going to be a factor this year? Or is there a chance he might be back full speed by the end of the season with all the hype? Our tight ends, why would there be any hurry to get him on the field? I think you're going to see him this year.
Well,
I think he'll stay into the 4 game though.
He'll definitely redshirt. Whether we see him or not just depends on how quickly that rehab comes together. I would be surprised if you saw him before, like, say, the Purdue game,
Which is what,
would be
November?
Yeah,
Or October
the end of
31st?
October. And quite frankly, I'm thinking you're targeting the Wisconsin and Iowa games because then, you know, you can get them into a bowl game. If you make it there, the end of December is a lot more feasible.
Who has the best jerseys in college football? Who has the worst? Hashtag jersey toxism.
I really like the classic jerseys. Like I like old Penn State jersey. I like, you know, that's me. I want the when you see it on TV, you instantly know what it is.
I've said this before. My jersey style is crisp and clean and nothing crazy going on. No weird prints or anything like that. Not too many patches or anything like that. And I think Minnesota has done a really good job.
Okay.
That I get pushback on that every year. I think they have great jerseys, and I like the way that they're kind of building the framework of their program. Those are the best for me. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, I just like I said, the teams that when I was younger, growing up, and you'd see it on TV, you knew instantly who they were. Like
Also,
that's just-
Florida. I love Florida's colors.
Florida,
Yeah.
Yep, that stands out there. I mean, Florida State for me as well, when they don't do weird with it.
Mhm.
Notre Dame, Alabama, all of those schools. So I like the classics.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, we are done. The drive is next. We'll be back tomorrow.